Hello everybody. This is going to be another Divine Partnership Coaching video, and it's going to be in addition to the how to get communication from your twin, your DM or DF. And what I wanted to talk about is one of the ways that I found most effective in giving it to myself. Because in terms of manifesting, especially when it comes to twin flames, what I've noticed is that the less you need something from your twin, the more likely you are to get it. And I know that I talked earlier about journaling. I think I talked about it in the 5D communication series, but like learning to discern whether or not you're getting like telepathic communication or dream communication or things like that. Start journaling, and you'll start to notice the difference between what is more the fantasy in your mind and what is more realistic. You'll also start to discern the difference between, is it your twin's 5D self communicating with you? Usually it is, but you can also get communications from their 3D self, but you'll notice a difference up until they come into union with themselves, and then you'll start to notice a little more consistency and constancy between the two. You'll also, though, by that time, notice more consistency and constancy between yourself, your 3D self, and your 5D self, because you also need to be working on coming into union with yourself. That's the fastest and most effective way to help them do that. Now, another thing that I found most effective is to look at anything that you want, anything that you feel like especially if you feel like you need it, or like you're feeling very dissatisfied in life if you don't have it, whether it's with your twin or anything else, but let's focus on the twin aspect right now. What you need to figure out is, how can I give that to myself? That, for one thing, even if we take out all the fun spirituality and magic of twin flames, is something that everybody needs to learn to do in order to have a healthy interdependent relationship rather than a codependent relationship, and to just be emotionally secure. Like, yes, we are humans, we are social creatures, we cannot go without social interaction entirely throughout our whole lives. I mean, even if we just connect with plants and animals, we still have a social connection somewhere. Even if we're just connecting in spirit with with other spiritual beings, we're still being social. So there's no getting out of that per se. But to be emotionally secure, you should never, well, not never, you should be at the point where you, more often than not, do not feel like you need anything from anyone else. And when you want something, it should be as simple as, I want that. That would be cool and fun. Now I'm just going to let it go and forget about it. That's how you get it. Like, you want it, you say, universe, I really would like this, and then you let it go. You forget about it. You ignore it, whatever. Or not ignore it, but you just release it, and then it allows it to come in. But one of the ways you can start doing this, and you can use communication from your twin flame to help do this, is start to write out. I mean, you read, I'm assuming you read, when you read in a book chapters of dialogue and things like that, like he said, I really miss you. She responded, I really miss you too. Like, write out dialogue in your journey, in your journal about, like, just go with it. Don't put any rules on it. Don't be like, oh, but they would never say that, or I've never heard them say that, or I've only heard them say that in 5D, but they've never said that in 3D. Just throw out your rule book and start writing just however much flows out. It could be like just a short interaction. It could be several pages of interactions. You could end up writing a chapter. You never know. You might end up turning it into a book later on of a fiction novel about a romantic love that went this way. But just think of it in a way that is fun, and think of it as practice, because when you're manifesting, you want to think about what you want, not what you don't want. Don't focus on the reality as it is. In fact, have as Fiery Grace, which is one of my favorite readers on YouTube, she reminded me of something I had thought about some time ago of doing, is that you kind of want to have like a, what do you call it? I don't know what the specific word would be, but have like a funeral service for your old self, your old toxic self, because you've been there too, and your your DM or DF's old toxic self. Like, look at all the ways that you didn't like being treated. Look at all the stories you told yourself in your head about they're too immature, or they've been narcissistic, or they have these so many problems, or I'm not taking them back until they do A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Just let it go, you know, like write it out. Like, I release all of these old ways, and I welcome in and I allow this new person to come in. I'll have to do another video about that itself. But you allow you to come in, you allow them to come in. So write these dialogues from the perspective of they are already this new person, you know, not new, they're the person that you love, but they no longer have to when you're writing it, write it from the perspective of they've already healed. It's both future tense, but write it in the present tense, you know, as if it's happening right now, and write it out. You know, maybe you could write, let's see, you could, I would use their name when you're writing it, but I'm going to say, let's say, DM sends me a text that says, you know, I'm really sorry that I've been so checked out lately and not been a very good friend or co-parent. I'm really amazed that you have been so good and so patient all this time. How are you? You know, and I might write, I respond, you know what, I really appreciate you for that reason. I've always known that when you realize what's going on, you would get back to me, and that's one of the things I love about you as a friend or anything more, and I'm doing good. How are you? And, you know, and I might write it out like that. Or sometimes I'll realize that, like, I'm getting held up on something that my DM has done, and I'm getting back into ego space where I feel like I need an apology, which is aside from the point of whether or not an apology is warranted or righteous or anything like that. Like, and I will write out the apology that I want from him, and then I'll write out an apology to myself for, like, usually not having good enough boundaries or being too afraid to like refocus on something else and let it lie and not need some sort of resolution to something. So I'll do a twofold on that, but I give myself what I want from him. And I can tell you, the funny thing is from the moment I started doing that, I started getting more of the communication of what I was writing out, which in my head at first was a fiction. You know, like, this is just what I want. I would sometimes write in my journal what I would ask for if I allowed myself to want what I really want. Especially because with where I was in codependent energy, I was really worried that asking for what I really wanted would be affecting him in a magical way and being selfish rather than just allowing it to happen. But I realized a few key elements that, one, as twins,